Your pakka dress and cleanliness inspired me. Was a young hippie of the beach. Your ability to engage people and keep them attracted always amazed me. And of course, the glorious completion of Vrindavan and Bombay temples will stand for centuries as a reminder of what one dedicated soul with unflinching faith in his spiritual master can achieve. You have achieved the goal of life, attachment to the lotus feet of His divine grace. You have left us because Srila Prabhupada must have more temples for you to design somewhere. And I beg you to allow me your association in another lifetime, for I know that whatever you are doing for Srila Prabhupada will be an uproarious success, and I would like to be part of that again. By associating with devotees like you, one can get nearer to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you again, my dearest God brother. All glories to Sri Krishna Balram, all glories to Sri Sri Radha Ras Bihari, all glories to our eternal beloved Srila Prabhupada. Still your aspiring servant, Vijeta Das. Oh, sorry. Eknath Prabhu also sent me a picture of the Jew construction screw. You won't be able to see, I'll show you later. He says, thank you for your association, your brilliance and your services. The Jew construction crew. Some of the devotees I know, most of them I don't know, maybe others will know. Here is Surabhi Prabhu sitting, next to, on his right is Murti Das. Here is Eknath Prabhu, and next to him is Vijeta. When I came to Vrindavan in 1975, I saw Surabhi Prabhu and Gunarnaba Prabhu. They were always very busy. Whenever you see them, they are running here and there, sometimes on the roof, sometimes on the main gate, or with the mistri, or with the carpenter, here and there, with a pen and paper in his hand. My first meeting was a little bit funny. I was serving prasad in the devotee prasadam hall, which is our Govinda restaurant nowadays. That used to be the prasadam hall. And he was sitting, and some other devotees were sitting. In the breakfast, we served khichdi and oranges. So I was serving oranges. Prabhu was also sitting, and I gave him one orange. I was supposed to give one to everybody, to all the devotees, so I served him one orange. But he said, can I have one more? I said, no. He said, I want one more, just one more. I said, no, just one for everybody, all the devotees. He said, who told you? I said, temple commander. He said, who is the temple commander? I said, Bhajendraనందన్ Prabhu. Bhakti Bhajendraనందన్ Swami from Malaysia. Bhajendraనందన్ Prabhu. I said, where is he? I said, he's sitting in the row, in the line. So he looked at him. And immediately Bhajendraనందన్ Prabhu looked at me and made a gesture. Give more, as many as he wants. So I gave him, I took 3 from the bucket and gave to him, offered him 3, but he didn't take. He was true to his word. He said, I want only one more. He took one more. So later on, Bhajendraనందన్ Prabhu told me that his name is Surabhi Prabhu, and he built this temple. First I thought he built this temple, maybe he carried bricks, or he built this temple. He later explained, no, he is the architect, and he designed all the temples, everything, the arches, everything. He made the design and sketches and drew all these things, and working all the with the mistries and everything. So that's how I came to know about him. Just like King Ambarish Sabai Mana Krishna Padar Vindayo Bachan Sibai Kuntu Gunanu Varnane Karau Harer Mandir Marjanadi Su. King Ambarish used his hands to cleanse the Lord's temple. You can do many more things with your hands. You can cook for Krishna, you can write, you can offer artis, and you can also make beautiful designs and sketches and drawings to build beautiful temples for Krishna. And Surabhi Prabhu used his hands, his brain, his intelligence, his whole personality to perfection for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. And Krishna Balaram wanted such a temple to be built by him. He inspired him, and with his inspiration, spontaneously all these designs and all these beautiful paintings he made, and he showed it to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada approved immediately by saying, "Go ahead and do it. This is very beautiful," like that. Surabhi Prabhu may have gone from our vision, but he will live forever, for many, many years by this temple. Whenever we visit this temple, Jew temple, when I joined ISKCON, the twin tower of Jew guest house, where only first floor was built, only first floor was under construction. So the twin tower of Bombay temple and the Radharasbihari temple, this temple, Samadhi and the guest house, everything. There's so many other things, as you have heard from Dinabandhu Prabhu and Devisakti Mataji and all these great God brothers and God sisters. It's an amazing thing he has done for all the devotees, for the next generation, and for many, many years to come. This will stand as a sign of his dedication, of his love to Srila Prabhupada. They used to call me Gunarnaba and Surabhi Prabhu. They were very close friends, as you have heard. They were working together. I was also there in Bombay and also here, and they used to call me, "Hey, come here, hey, you baby-faced, come here, go get this, go get that." I said, "I'm not baby-faced, I'm 16 years old." He said, "No, you're baby-faced, go get this." So they are very friendly and very affectionate. They are like my older brothers, both of them. They loved me so much. I had their good association, and Surabhi Prabhu, we can never repay the debts we owe to him. We are sitting in this temple today by his hard labor he built, and on behalf of Eknath Prabhu, on behalf of Vijeta Prabhu, and on behalf of Pundrik Prabhu and myself, we thank Surabhi Prabhu for doing this wonderful service. So much he has done. There is no doubt. Where has he gone? There is no doubt. Srila Prabhupada has, as Vijeta Prabhu says, must have more temples to design. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada called him back. So with that, I conclude. Surabhi Prabhu ki jai.
We'd like to thank you for some very interesting memories of Surabhi Prabhu, and also very nice point that although Surabhi has left us, he will live for generations in these temples. So next I'd like to ask Anjali Devadasi to make her offering of Surabhi.
Tasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave. I first came to Vrindavan in 1974, and even though the temple was supposed to be completed just a few months down the road, it was really far from completion. At that time it was like a big pit still, and with the girders sticking up. And I saw Sura Prabhu, Kishori, especially I remember those two, Gurudas, Jamuna. There's a Hindi word, banaya, to make. And usually they say when somebody like Surabhi has made this temple, they don't use the word banaya. They'd say banvaya. It's made like he supervised the making of it. But it's not like that at all, actually. When you saw them in action, they were doing everything. They were participating in every amount, in every part of the work. So really, Surabhi, he made this temple on Prabhupada's orders. And but there's another aspect that I wanted to talk about, because while this was his maid service. Oh, there's one more thing. When Kusha was talking about how he was chastised by Prabhupada so much, and he relished it, you know, Prabhupada would say that the word sadhu means knife. And I always wondered about this because, you know, sadhu doesn't mean knife. But it wasn't until later that I found out two things. One thing is that the word sadhu actually does mean something which is sharp and it goes straight to the goal. Satya is the goal, sadhu goes straight to the goal. But what Prabhupada was talking about is in relation to something that his Guru Maharaj would say, that the sadhu wields the knife of chastisement, to cut away the anarthas of the disciple. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said that if a sadhu flatters you, you should think, oh, he's your enemy. But if he chastises you, he is your greatest friend. And it was Surabhi's great good fortune that he could see that Prabhupada was chastising him, and accepted it and embraced that. It shows that he did not have komal shraddha. He didn't have soft faith. He had guru nishtha to be able to accept that. So, but there's this other problem, you know, Surabhi had many sides. And there's one aspect to his understanding of Prabhupada's teachings that I personally experienced. And I spoke to him about this just a few days ago when he first came. I mentioned that I had seen him here in Vrindavan maybe a couple years ago, after a very long time. The time before that I had seen him was about 30-something years ago in California. We were in Mendocino, and we had a Gurukul there in Northern California, and he was a sannyasi at the time, and he had come up to the Gurukul and he had spoken. And I was very much impressed by his words, and I remembered what he said. And he had that, when I spoke to him, he didn't really remember going to that place. He was there for 2 days, and he said that he had been to so many places, but when I told him what he had said, he remembered immediately. So it was this, and he was speaking about Gurukul, and he was speaking about boys. Even though we had both boys and girls in our Gurukul, he was specifically speaking about boys. And he said that Gurukul is for the children until they are 10 or 12 years old, bas. He said, after that, they need specific training. They should be trained for a trade or career at that time. He said it's very important for boys. he said that when a boy is young, even a little boy, he's always thinking in his mind, what am I going to do when I grow up? What is my career going to be? And so they have to be trained. And you know, I heard this at the time, and my son was, I think, 5 years old. And it was interesting, but I didn't really put that much importance into it until I saw my son grow up, and I saw his friends, and I observed the other kids in the Gurukul, and it's true. From the very time the boy is small, as he grows up, he's always thinking, what am I going to do? What is, you know, because they understand that they have this responsibility. And I was telling this to Surabhi, that he said, yes, I really felt this way. I had experience of it. And this is, Surabhi was so mature and so practical and clear thinking, very clear thinking. And he said that actually when we went to Bombay, so he and Kishori and the children went to Bombay after Vrindavan. And so we were, I told Prabhupada, well, what am I going to do that there's no Gurukula here? And Prabhupada said to him, he said, well, not every child can go to Gurukula. He said, there's a school, and he mentioned the name of the school. That was the local school nearby. He said the children can go there. And so he said how his children had gone and they'd gotten little uniforms, and they even still to this day remember. And he said that Prabhupada told him that when the family is good, meaning the family is strong devotees, that the children don't need to go to Gurukul. That this will be enough to be for them, because the whole purpose of Gurukul is what? To raise the children as devotees of the Lord. That is the purpose of Gurukul. It's not to get into university, it's not to get, you know, it's to raise, that if the children grow up to be devotees, that Gurukul is successful. If they don't, it's not successful. So this is, anyway, so Surabhi was telling me this. And I really appreciated it. And then we were also speaking of a Treya Rishi. He very much liked a Treya Rishi as my god brother. And he appreciated, he said, Surabhi was telling me that he lived in Iran, Treya Rishi is Iranian. He lived in Iran before he was a devotee. And so he appreciated, he liked it very much. And so he felt like he understood a Treya Rishi's mind and his mood. And, you know, I can see that because he was practical and mature, and he was a visionary. First of all, he was visionary. And he was able to see these qualities in other people. And I think this is because Surabhi was personally trained by the most mature, most practical, and most visionary personality, our Srila Prabhupada. And he was trained by Srila Prabhupada very carefully. Prabhupada could recognize the qualities of a devotee and engage them according to their qualities. He wrote this one letter to Navayovana, that you engage your propensities in Krishna's service, and your propensities will be tested to perfection. I love that, tested to perfection. And so anyway, Srila Prabhupada was the one who trained him, and not only that, he trained him in the most difficult training ground there is, Sri Vrindavan Dham. And we can see that whatever training he received, he imbibed it. And we can see the success of that in his leaving this world here in Vrindavan. it. Thank you very much. Vancha Kopa Tribhyascha Kripa Sinavya Vita Patitanam Pavani. Vaishnava.
Surabhi Prabhu ki! So we'd like to thank Ministry Mataji for enlightening us on some other, giving us some insights into another level of Surabhi, his deep insights into Gurukul, also out of his field. He was so intelligent, he could see many different facets of life. So anyone else would like to make a comment? Otherwise, we have the interview. I wish I could have had time before to go through the interview. Pull up our read a little bit, survey his own words, and we'll understand this thing about Zoro. I decided to go back to India and write me the trip with Victoria in the mid-60s. She preferred to stay in the temple with the child. I thought I'm going to maybe make a film or something. I had a little 5mm, 8mm camera, and I had a small Philips recorder with tapes, if anybody remembers those. So in February 1972, I brought a one-way ticket to India and landed in Bombay. Then I thought, what am I going to film here? Let's go with temples, because I was a little bit familiar with that. I had been in India before for a year and a half traveling. I went to see all the different temples, and there was nothing interesting. I was a little bit lost what to do, and it wasn't really that attractive a city or what I expected. Then I thought there must be a Radha Krishna temple here. I asked people, do you have any Radha Krishna temple? I had seen the Ganesh temple, the Hanuman temple, the Shiva temples, but I had never seen a Krishna temple. Finally someone had told me, yeah, there's a Krishna temple. And I went to Nariman Point. There was a little temple somewhere, but it didn't look like a temple to me. So I said, is there any temple here where foreigners also go? They said, oh, Akash Ganga, Akash Ganga, Akash Ganga. They all pointed out some tall buildings further down the road. I was out of there with my little camera and trying to do a documentary on the Indian culture, record stuff and talk to people. I said, okay, I'll just go there. So I went up to the lift. So I went up in the lift, and it was quite unusual for me to go to a temple in a lift. There was one Mataji there, Madri, who was married to Tamal Krishna. She said, sit in the temple room. There are beautiful deities. She didn't say much, she was just doing her things. I was going to go, and she said, just wait, the devotees are coming. Then suddenly there was a noise in the hall with drums and kartals, and everybody was happy and saying, Haribo, Haribo. And 20 or 30 devotees came in. Shyam Sundar came up to me and he said, we're all leaving here now. This is our last day. We just got this land in Juhu, and we're having a pandal there. And Prabhupada is speaking for 1 week. If you would like to come, you're welcome. They got 5 taxis and they were packing up everything. We took those taxis to Juhu and we arrived there an hour later. I paid for all the taxis and everybody went in and then straight into the pandal. Prabhupada was sitting there and there was immediately kirtan. It was packed with local people. I thought, that's quite nice. Shyam Sundar came over to me and said, do you have by chance a tape recorder or something? Nobody has a tape recorder here. I said, yes, I have a tape recorder. I've got a camera too. He said, no, we don't need a camera, just a tape recorder. Prabhupada is sitting there. You go behind, sit on the floor, put your microphone on the stand and record it. When you change the tape, don't make any noise. Just record it. So I was sitting there on the stage and Prabhupada sort of looked to the left behind. Who is this sitting there? I had long hair. There were a few thousand people sitting there in the audience and he gave a lecture. So this was the beginning of me stopping to think. I was in a situation totally out of my control. My whole idea of doing a documentary on Indian culture was just gone. I was sitting there suddenly and it was a totally different world and I just accepted it. I sat there, recorded it, the program was over and everybody left. Then Dinanath said, you can stay here tonight. You can sleep with us on the roof. And they got me a mosquito net. So I talked a little bit with him and there were some other devotees there. It was around 10 or 11 o'clock. Then in the morning at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, suddenly somebody pulls off the mosquito, this mosquito thing off my head. And Brahmananda was there. Mangalarti, get up. All the others were already up, but I was still sleeping. Get to the temple, there's Mangalarti.
So I went to the temple. I had no beads for chanting. They said, just sit here and look at the deities. Then we have Guru Puja, and then we'll have this, and then we'll do that, and then we'll have prasadam. Then Brahmananda came back to me and said, before prasadam, here you take 1 rupee, go to the barber across the road and shave your head. I was already at the stage where I wasn't thinking anymore. I was just doing whenever they told me. So I went across to a little barber shop with the Indian Bollywood music playing. The barber said, yeah, you want to have a Hare Krishna cut, right? I said, yeah, I think that's what it's got to be. So I came out of the barber shop and there was prasadam. Then Brahmananda Shyamsundar came and said, when you're finished, come with us because Prabhupada wants to see you. He was staying in a little apartment with a South Indian family, and Shyamsundar was the secretary at the time. I went inside the room and Prabhupada said, oh, now you look very nice. He said, so what is the use of decorating dead bodies? I said, it's no use. He said, exactly. That's why Krishna has sent you here. You have to design these temples. I think Shyamsundar knew that I was the guy from Amsterdam who helped with building the temple. Like when they found out that Garnava had done some welding and he had construction experience, that's how he ended up in Vrindavan. Whoever had some experience in the past, they take them and send them to India. But I think it was because I was there at a very strange time. Suddenly I was there out of the blue, and Prabhupada was there. Prabhupada said, Krishna has sent you to design the temple for Bombay. Tonight we have a fire sacrifice ceremony. Do you know what it is? Not really, he said. We give initiation. So you will be initiated tonight. Prabhupada knew who he was, huh? Then he showed me some pictures and said, this is the temple I like. I like this kind of design. There were pictures from the Govindiji temple in Jaipur. He liked those kind of arches, and that's why you see in Bombay the same arches. Prabhupada took the temple that was the most popular in the area, because in Vrindavan there weren't very popular temples. In Jaipur, tourists go there and everybody goes to the Govindiji temple. Then he said, Shyamsundar, give him some paper and pencil. They gave me some paper and a pencil, and they gave me a table and said, please start. So I was sitting in a room next to Prabhupada and started drawing. Initiation ceremony was in the pandal. I was sitting next to Jagat Purush, who got Brahman initiation. From the moment at the pandal, sitting and recording, then sitting in the room, and then having to design temples, and then getting initiated, I thought, do I have anything to say in this? It was just happening, one thing after another. After the ceremony was over, I was confused because I thought, you got names. I asked Shyamsundar, is there a name for me? He said, oh yeah. He went over to Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada said something that sounded like Zorro. So I had to live with Zorro for a couple of days. Until I dared to ask Shyamsundar, how do you write Zorro? Then he went back and Prabhupada, because he didn't know. He went back to Prabhupada because he didn't know. How do you spell his name? S-A-R-A-B-H-A Das. Then I asked, what is Surabdas? Surabdas. Somebody told me, he's a very famous Parsi poet. I never really knew what it is, Surabdas. And I lived with that name for a long time. I didn't ask Prabhupada because he gave the name, so why question it? There must be a reason. So, shall I go on? I spent about 3 days in Prabhupada's room doing these drawings. Prabhupada would come over now and then and he would look and say, nice, that's good. He would just check what I was doing. So I made the front facade and he said, this is very nice. This is what we're going to do here in Bombay. Then later on he said, Shyamsundar, give these other pictures. There was a picture that was sent from LA of a square skyscraper and devotees had put Hare Krishna on it. I still have that picture. And Prabhupada himself drew some notes on there. Shyamsundar said, Prabhupada wants a skyscraper in Bombay. He wants a temple with a skyscraper. So then I think, how do you put that together? After 3 days, the Pandal festival was over and Prabhupada left. They had built a hut and everybody lived in there. and I continued drawing. Basically, I had the concept of 2 towers because the airport was restricting the height. So I said, then instead of 1, we'll put 2 next to each other. You cut it in half and put 1 next to the other. That's why there are 2 towers. The skyscraper was a guest house or a hotel, and I made a lobby. Then also there had to be a restaurant, and there had to be a theater for performances. All these things he wanted there. I worked for about 2 months, and I met some architects. So basically the concept of Bombay was done. Then the whole project fell to pieces. There was dispute about the land, then there was a problem with the son of Prabhupada. Girish had to go to court, he had to do all sorts of things. So I was stalled, we couldn't go any further. We couldn't get into any of the buildings. So devotees were living on the roof. People got sick and the temple was moved into a hut. That's when Maitalili was the head pujari in the hut, where we had snakes crawling around. I kept doing what I had to do, and it was quite a lot of work. Then in May '73, Prabhupada wrote a letter saying that I had to go to Vrindavan immediately. I was on the train in no time. I arrived in Vrindavan and went to the Radha Damodar temple. There was another person sitting there who became Chaitya Guru. He was also just Sevan. He was from a Sikh family and was a Sardarji previously, Sardarji. He told me he was from Punjab, and he told me to come to this temple, and then we'd meet there and they would give us some service. I really wasn't sure what I had to do in Vrindavan. I knew it was for a temple, but the Radha Damodar place to me was very depressing in a way, because there was nobody there. Gurudas and Jamuna were not in, and they wouldn't come back until the next day or late in the evening. We were just sitting there, and he said, it's very hot, so why don't we go to the Jamuna? It's not far away. We'll walk to the Jamuna and take a dip. So we went there, and there was quite a few people going in the water. There was a family with 3 or 4 women and sons and husbands, and they were all bathing in the Jamuna. It was nice and cool. We were taking bath in the Jamuna. Then apparently one of the people that were bathing there got caught up by the stream. It's a very strong current in the Jamuna. You have solid ground, then suddenly at one point it goes down a meter. So these people didn't know how to swim, and someone went down. Suddenly these ladies were screaming, and they started to go back on the shore. We started diving in the water trying to catch the person, but we couldn't. I went about 10 times down under, but the current was enormous. The turtles bump into you, and you can't see anything because the water is very murky. Then I came up and told the ladies, he's gone. It was a man my age, the husband of one of the ladies there. He drowned right in front of us. I thought, well, it's the Jamuna, so it should be all right, but it's difficult. As I was diving, I was thinking, should I save this person or let him go? Of course I tried, but I couldn't. So that was my first visit to Vrindavan. We went back to the temple. By that time it was evening. Then later Jamuna and Gurudas came in. Next day Gurudas took me to Raman Reddy. That's when I met Gurunadava for the first time. Again, Surabhi. When I came there was nothing going on, and that's apparently why I was sent. They had a basic plan from an architect in Delhi that was very simple. Gurudas showed me the drawings. This is the temple they're going to build. Their locations were already basically placed, and they had put in foundations in some part. The part where the courtyard is already done, that place with the pillars, that part where the courtyard was already done, the place with the pillars. I started drawing again because we had a foundation. There was an engineering plan. That was the layout, and I couldn't change it. Indian construction was quite new to me, but by looking at the land sloping down from the entrance, I had enough knowledge to see that it's not good. It was quite low, but they did not raise it. And with any rain, it would flood. So the first thing I did was raise it by 2 feet. Like Gurunadava said, the problem was cement, because in India at that time, cement was on quota. You could not just buy cement in the open market. If you did that, there was a risk that it might not be good quality. We had to get an allowance from the government, and we were not a priority project. We were there somewhere in Vrindavan, so there was always some delay. We had very nice meetings with Gurudas because he was a very optimistic person, and he made it really special. that being in Vrindavan is a very special place. We started reading a lot. We had a lot of discussions. We had some learning of slokas and practicing slokas. Gunarnav and I shared the same room. Straight away when I came, I looked at the plans and there was nothing really there. Then Prabhupada wanted to see what the temple was going to look like. So like in Bombay, I just started drawing. I had this big piece of paper and I made the drawing of the front facade, which is the style of the arch. That was my main concern. I got to have something there that is different. In the beginning, we did a lot of driving around to find ideas for temples. We also made lots of trips to Mathura to try to get cement. We also had to get bricks. We had to get good quality sand because it's very tricky with the sand. All these were available. All of these are available, but you just had to pay. Bricks you always get, and sand. Cement was quota. We had to find someone who would be ready to deliver us. Anyway, it goes on and on for many pages here. Is there anybody else who would like to say something about Surabhi? Mother Parvati is not here? Karuna Parna? Okay, so we'll end our Smriti Sabha memorial service here at this point. And then what time is feast? 3 o'clock. So at 3 o'clock there'll be a feast for everyone in the Krishna hall. So Balaram hall.
For all the devotees. They're doing the Balaram.
The whole feast.
Means Prabhupada disciples and the temple devotees.
Okay, Prabhupada disciples and temple devotees in Krishna hall, everybody in Balaram hall, everyone else in the Krishna hall. So at 3 o'clock there'll be a feast. Prabhupada and sannyasis and senior devotees in the Balaram hall, and resident devotees in the Balaram hall, and all other visitors in the Krishna hall. Hare Krishna.
Surabhi Prabhu ki